People don't value what is always available. They value what can disappear. Your constant presence teaches others one thing: you will stay, no matter how they treat you. Machiavelli understood this centuries ago. Power is not only in action, it is in controlled absence. When you are always there, replying fast, showing up, explaining yourself, reassuring others, you remove tension. And without tension, there is no respect. Think about how you move through your relationships, your friendships, your work dynamics. Are you always the one reaching out, always available, always accommodating? You think that makes you valuable, reliable, a good person, but it doesn't. It makes you expected, taken for granted. Background noise. Because people don't appreciate what they never have to work for. They don't value what never threatens to leave. Your constant availability is not generosity. It's teaching people you have no boundaries, no priorities higher than their comfort, no life outside of their needs. And once they learn that, they stop respecting your time, your energy, your presence. Because why would they? You've already proven you'll always be there. So here's the question. If you stepped back today, who would actually notice? Not who would eventually realize. Not who would feel vaguely like something was off after a few weeks. Who would notice immediately? Who would feel the absence? Who would reach out? And more importantly, who would panic? Because panic reveals dependency, reveals that your presence was providing something they needed, something they weren't acknowledging, something they took for granted until it disappeared. Most people never ask themselves this question because the answer terrifies them. They're afraid they'll discover they don't matter as much as they thought, that their constant effort was one-sided, that their presence was convenient, not valued. But that fear keeps them trapped, keeps them performing, keeps them available, even when it costs them everything. Power begins when you're willing to find out the truth. The moment you withdraw, a silent test begins. Not a game, a revelation. Some will chase, some will question, some will replace you instantly. That is not betrayal. That is information. Machiavellian awareness is not manipulation. It is seeing people as they are, not as you hope they are. Your absence exposes who valued you, who used you, who feared losing access to you. Presence hides truth. Distance uncovers it. When you're always there, people don't have to reveal how they actually feel about you. They can be polite, friendly, engaged. Because there's no cost to it, no effort required. You're already doing all the work. But the moment you step back, the moment you stop initiating, stop accommodating, stop being available, the dynamic shifts. And in that shift, people reveal themselves. Some will notice immediately. They'll reach out, check in, make effort they weren't making before. That tells you something. Your presence mattered. They just didn't realize how much until it was threatened. Some will notice, but won't reach out. They'll wait. Test whether you come back on your own, whether your absence is permanent or just a mood. That tells you something too. They value you, but only on their terms, only when it's convenient. Some won't notice at all, or they'll notice and feel relief. One less obligation, one less person to manage. That tells you everything, and some will panic. They'll reach out multiple times. They'll ask what's wrong. They'll try to pull you back in. Not because they miss you, because they need you. And there's a difference. Missing someone means valuing their presence. Needing someone means depending on what they provide. Attention, validation, emotional labor, a role you were playing that kept their world stable. When you disappear, that stability collapses and panic sets in, not because you matter to them as a person, but because your function matters. This is the hierarchy your absence reveals: who values you, who uses you, who needs you to stay small so they can stay comfortable. And once you see it, you can't unsee it. Humans chase what feels limited: attention, time, energy, access. When you give these freely, they lose value. When you become selective, you become rare. Machiavelli warned rulers not to be too accessible. Familiarity breeds comfort. Comfort breeds disrespect. This isn't just about rulers. It's about anyone who gives too much of themselves. When you're always available, always responsive, always willing to drop everything, you train people to devalue you. Not consciously, but psychologically, because the human brain assigns value based on scarcity. What is rare feels precious. What is abundant feels disposable. You see this everywhere: in relationships, in professional dynamics, in social hierarchies. The person who is always free is the one people call last. The one who always says yes is the one people stop thanking. The one who always shows up is the one people stop inviting intentionally, because they know you'll be there anyway. Scarcity creates psychological weight. When someone's time is limited, their attention becomes valuable. When their presence is selective, their approval becomes meaningful. People think about them more. Wonder what they're doing. Feel special when they make time. Not because they're better people, because they're harder to access, and difficulty creates desire. This doesn't mean playing games. It means understanding the mechanics of human psychology. When you're always there, you're taken for granted. When you're rarely there, you're thought about constantly. The one who is not always there is the one people think about the most. Not because they're manipulating anyone, because their absence creates space, and space creates curiosity. When you withdraw, people fill that space with thoughts of you, questions about you, narratives about what your absence means, and in doing so, they assign you more significance than your presence ever commanded. Disappearing is not about punishing others. It is about reclaiming yourself. Most people fear distance because they fear being forgotten. They stay in relationships that drain them, stay in dynamics where they're undervalued, stay available to people who barely notice. Because the alternative, disappearing, feels like erasing themselves. But that fear is what keeps them powerless. Power begins when you are willing to be absent and let reality rearrange itself. No announcements, no explanations, no dramatic exits, just quiet withdrawal. You stop initiating, stop accommodating, stop making yourself available by default. Not out of spite, out of self-respect. And then you watch what happens. Those who value you will lean in. They'll notice the shift. They'll make effort they weren't making before. Not because you demanded it. Because your absence made them realize what they were losing. Those who don't value you will fade out. They'll move on, replace you, forget you were ever there. And that stings, but it's also clarity, because now you know. You're not wondering if they care. You're not hoping things will change. You have your answer. Both outcomes serve you. Either the relationship deepens because both people are now investing, or it ends because only one person ever was. Either way, you're no longer stuck in ambiguity, no longer performing for people who don't see you. This is emotional detachment as power, not coldness, not cruelty, just the willingness to step back and let people prove who they are through their actions, not your hopes. When you stop chasing, you start choosing. When you stop explaining, you start observing. When you disappear, you stop being predictable. And predictability is the enemy of power. Most people are trapped in patterns, always the one reaching out, always the one apologizing, always the one making things work. They think that makes them strong, noble, the bigger person. But it doesn't. It makes them predictable. And predictable people are easy to take for granted because everyone knows they'll always come back, always forgive, always accommodate. There's no risk in mistreating them, no consequence to ignoring them, no cost to undervaluing them. They've already proven they'll stay. But the moment you break that pattern, the moment you disappear, everything shifts. You stop being the constant, the guaranteed, the one who will always be there no matter what. You become variable, uncertain, someone who might not come back. And uncertainty creates attention. People who ignored you suddenly notice. People who took you for granted suddenly wonder. People who never made effort suddenly try. Not because you asked them to, because your absence forced them to. Machiavelli's real lesson was never cruelty. It was awareness. He understood that power is not about controlling others. It's about controlling yourself, your availability, your energy, your presence. When you give these thoughtlessly, you lose leverage. When you give them selectively, you gain it. See clearly, step back, let people reveal themselves. Don't announce it, don't explain it, don't turn it into a statement. Just withdraw quietly, completely, and watch what happens. Who reaches out, who doesn't, who panics, who replaces you without blinking. All of it is information. All of it serves you. Because the strongest position is not being everywhere. It is being felt even when you are gone. When your absence carries more weight than your presence ever did, you've understood the lesson. Power is not in being needed. It's in being valued enough that people fear losing you. And that fear only exists when disappearing is actually possible. So disappear. Not forever. Just long enough. Long enough to see who notices, who cares, who was only there because you made it easy, and then decide who deserves to stay.